Second step in the process is the positioning communication strategy. And I put communication in this title it makes it easier to distinguish between positioning concept, which is the idea of where you want to be, and strategy in this case, which means this is what we're going to do. So typically nowadays you'd call this branding, right? So the idea is once you figure out where you want to be, right, you have to execute that. You have to operationalize it. You have to communicate it. And really the point is everything you do, right, in every tool you have has to work towards that positioning and be consistent. So it's not just your brand name, it's your packaging, it's the stores that you're sold in, it's your pricing, it's your coupons and promotions, it's trying to get your different influencers to say positive thing about you, it's trying to generate, positive word of mouth electronically through Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you're using. So everything that happens, and many of it's not under your control, you know, is goes toward your positioning, and that's what you have to control. So nowadays we just kind of use the term branding. Okay, I have to manage my brand, right? Well, your brand is set up to achieve some position from the positioning concept, and then branding means, hey, all the stuff we have to do. So here, when it comes to our marketing plan, we're going to use what we call strategic initiatives to come up with different communication strategies. And it's just not, communication in terms of advertising and social media and stuff, but it's everything you do. Price communicates. Everything has some communication value. The third step is you have to figure out how you're actually positioned in the marketplace after you know, conduct some positioning or launch your communication strategy. You have to do this on an ongoing basis, right? And you have to remember that it's not what you say, it's what your customer believes. Their perception is reality. Just because you say so doesn't make it so. So the hard part is again that there's a lot of other factors that influence how your brand's perceived and its positioning in the marketplace, whether it's a leader or known for certain things. For example, it's what you do, right? Your marketing, right? It's your competitors' marketing, right? T-Mobile's trying to say they have great 5G, and there's Verizon coming along trying to say, hey, ours blows yours away. All right. It's stuff that happens in the marketing environment. All right. And that could include, social media, political, legal, we have coronavirus now. It's going to affect certain companies. All companies are trying to make sure they present the right image and concern for everybody, and they have to deliver on that. And then again, it's your customers' experiences and indirect experiences. So indirect experiences are what you observe, you know, um, of other people who have the brand or try the brand or hear from them. Your observations when you're young and you see your parents, friends, or older, adults using products. Those help form your experience, your perceptions, and end up being a big influence on how you position a brand in your mind. I won't ever buy a Cadillac. Why? They've done a great job trying to modernize them, getting them up to date, making them hip, or whatever. But to me, Cadillacs are for old people. I'm never getting old. I would never buy a Cadillac. I have problems buying Skechers. Why? I don't know. I just have a problem with the brand and what they represent and all the old people who originally bought Skechers. So even though they look good and they fit, I probably won't buy them. Maybe when I get old, I will. But anyway, so there's a lot of factors you don't control over them, but you have to look at where you're actually positioned. Where you want to be isn't always where you actually are. And that brings us to the last step is then you have to evaluate how you're doing. Okay. So, hey, if you're on track and you're where you want to be or you're moving solidly in that direction, then maybe you don't change anything, or maybe you invest more because you're doing well. All right. Sometimes you're not where you want to be, right? And that means that maybe you have to reposition yourself. And so, that's difficult for many companies. So let's look at the failures first, or what's going to be, right? J.C. Penney. It's not even close to being spelled right. Control end. The second tool is a strategy canvas. All right. So basically, this is one for Netflix versus cable TV. This is popularized by the Blue Ocean strategy people. And this is Netflix in the blue and cable TV in the red. And you list the important features or benefits of the product, and then you rate them on some type of scale and map them out so you can visually get a better handle on seeing what the differences are. And you can see, where Netflix in blue, no commercials, no news, no live sports, relatively lower, much lower price than cable TV, not as much support. Things go wrong, easy to install, and then they cross, and then with cable TV in terms of movie selection, devices you can watch on, ability to watch full seasons, ability to watch from any location, right? Those are things that you can't really do, at least when this was made on cable TV, binge watch and stuff. So it's another way to say, hey, this is where we're the same, this is where we're different. And again, what's really important too is how important those features or criteria are. And along the same lines, and I'm sorry for the poor quality, but they're a little hard to find, is the idea of a snake chart. And it's just really another way to visualize the differences between several different brands. So if you imagine the competitor A and competitor B, you could have maybe 3 or 4 brands, competitive brands on one snake chart. And then again, you're listing the different features or benefits, and then the lines represent to what degree how much um, each brand has on those features. So high, this is for medicine, I believe, high price, dose, low price, right? So where you align on that scale and so forth. But you get another visual representative. Usually this is compiled off surveys that people do, and then those are averages for different brands on these different features or attributes that people answer questions on. The last tool is a positioning statement. And it's something you'll have to use in your marketing plan. So a positioning statement is just a relatively short statement, kind of like a mission statement for your marketing department. It focuses the department on your positioning. So what's really important, who you are, what are the benefits you're trying to provide to your customer. So a simple structure for it is to the target market. Our brand is the brand of whatever the product category is, the type of products that you're competing with or people are buying, that gives them these benefits because it has these features. All right. This is not the only way to write one, but this is a nice simple one. And here, if we adapt that structure for Nike, it might sound something like, for the serious athlete. That's our target market. Nike is the brand of athletic equipment and apparel. Those are the product categories that lets you perform your best. That's the benefit, right? Just do it, because Nike products are made with the latest and best technology and design. So those are the features and the features that give you the benefits. So that's a nice simple positioning statement. So the idea is whatever you do, and whether it's communication or design and distribution, any part of your 4 Ps, it should be consistent with your positioning statement. And there's a link which I'll put up there when I post the PowerPoint, that you can see some positioning statements from other companies. So the positioning communication strategy is, now you have a concept, now you have to actually execute it. You have to do it. right, to borrow something from Nike. And nowadays we would probably call that branding. Now we have to come up with our brand, give it a brand name. We have to figure out the other P's, how we're going to price it, um, what are our different marketing communications for promotions and events we're going to do and experiences we're going to provide. Um, and then also how we're going to distribute it, whether it's going to be online or in brick and mortar or both, and what channels, etc. So I call it the communication strategy, so you don't get concept and strategy mixed up. Positioning concept is figuring out where you want to be, what you want to be for Halloween. The communication strategy is how do we get there? How do I put together my costume? And so the main point is that everything you do, every tool you have in marketing, everything your company does can have an impact on the positioning. So all of that has to be coordinated to your positioning. And that's what really branding means nowadays. Branding is, hey, how do I, take my positioning strategy? How do I create this brand and use all the tools at my disposal um, to create the image and the position I want to get people to feel about my brand the way I want them to. Now, the last thing, not the last thing, the third thing, I'm sorry, there's four, um, is you have to figure out how you're actually positioned, right? Just because you say so doesn't make it so. Um, and so it's the customers or the consumers, the market's perception that determines your positioning, right? You can't believe your own marketing. And the hard part is there are, four different factors at least that influence that. One is what you say, your own marketing, what your competitors say, right? T-Mobile's got to deal with, you know, Verizon calling them out. Verizon hasn't even touched Sprint, right? They don't care. They're such a weak competitor. Somehow T-Mobile hit a sore spot with Verizon. What's going on in the marketing environment? All right. And so those events, whether they're political, social, the government, right, demographic, all those things can influence it, right? And the last one then is, people's experience with the brand, right? What happens when they actually buy it and use it or experience it? And it also includes indirect experiences. And that means, as a consumer, you observe other people, you talk with other people, you read about their experiences with the brand on blogs or in other forms of social media, and all those things influence people's perception of the brand and how they position it. Is it the top brand? Is it number two or number three? Is it strong in this but weak in that? All those perceptions are influenced by many things that you can't control, and that's what makes positioning difficult. The final step in the positioning process is you need to evaluate your positioning effectiveness. You know, is your brand positioned where you want it to be? Is it on track? Is it moving in that direction? Right? If it's successful, then you may want to invest more money or keep everything the same. If it's not, are there minor things that you can do, tweaks you can make, right? In general, repositioning is really difficult. Like we said before, in the beginning, when you're first out there, people's minds are like wet cement. You can mold and shape them. Once, after a while, the cement hardens, you can't change them. Leopard doesn't really change its spots. So, but companies do reposition themselves successfully. Domino's is a pretty good example you're probably familiar with. I'm not going to play the ad because it's a little bit longer. It's a CNN little video documentary on Domino's, but Domino's was the first pizza company to offer delivery way back in the 1980s. Right, sophomore college started the company. Right, said he was delivering pizza for a part-time job and said I can do this and started Domino's. And for a long, long time they did great because nobody else delivered, and it was a durable positioning even though it shouldn't have been. And then when the internet came along and people could do online orders and cell phones and all that technology, all of a sudden everybody else got the bright idea that we could deliver too. And basically, what happened is Domino's lost its positioning, it lost its competitive advantage, and because nobody, and when they found out quickly, nobody bought Domino's because it tasted good. They bought it because they didn't want to make dinner, because they could just get on the phone and hit a few keys, make a call, and get dinner. So Domino's didn't have a loyal base. They had a loyal base to delivery, but not to the pizza. And their sales plummeted, and they tried lots of different products, and they actually made grinders and pasta bowls and desserts and stuff, but they were failing miserably until finally they took drastic action. That's what the ad is about. I mean, the video is about, and basically decided that they needed to improve their pizza and let everybody know that. So they did that, and that's probably what saved them, right? So they, showed ads where people were saying, unflattering things about their pizza. And yes, Domino's chefs said, "Oh, you're hurting our feelings. We feel bad." But basically, they admitted that their pizza sucked, right? And then they promised and worked really hard, they said, to make it better. And then they sold it for a long time, 5 deals, three medium pizzas for $5 each. And and they did improve the pizza. And now, they're doing very well. All right. They're not number one, but they're right on the heels of Pizza Hut. And they've changed their whole positioning focus to paying attention to the customer. They're the leaders in being able to take orders and whatever, digitally, whether it's on the phone or Twitter, all right, email, whatever it is, they do it. You can, track your pizza from birth to, I guess, when you eat it, you kill it. I don't know, but the journey of your pizza, you can track it. And they, ran ads saying how they listen to their customers and they listen to their employees and everything. And they still coupon a lot. And is it the best pizza in the world? No, but it's improved a lot, and they're very profitable. The big key to their turnaround that you don't hear that much was by admitting that they screwed up or their pizza was bad, right? They gained a lot of credibility. It's called a two-sided argument, right? Usually when you watch an ad, people are going to come on and tell you how great their product is. So usually that puts the viewer in a defensive position, right? Because people are trying to convince you. But when you when you do what Domino's did, you come out and say, yeah, you're right. You admit a negative, okay? Something that's not positive, something the other party didn't expect. So, yeah, you're right. Our pizza did suck, and they actually showed pictures of pizza like stuck to the top of the box and everything like that. And then went and said, that really hurt our feelings, so we decided to do something about it. We sunk so low, it's like, they're alcoholic, and they hit the very bottom, so now they're ready to go to AA. But it made what they said more believable, more credible. I know I'm not the best. I know there's other ones that are better. I know we have a lot of good competition, but people are more likely to believe you when you use a two-sided argument rather than a one-sided argument. Hey, we make the best pizza, right? So that really helped them. Now with the zombie shopping retail apocalypse, now there's a lot of stores that are struggling, right? So J.C. Penney's one. They're still a pretty big store, right? And they realized just a while ago, so they hired the guy from Apple's, and I'm sorry I misspelled Penny there. It's like too many N's and missing an E, I believe. They hired a guy from the Apple store, and he started spending the money um, to make these new kind of hip stores that were like an Apple store. Updated the merchandise, updated the furniture, one price, everyday low pricing, no negotiating, no coupons and stuff. And they ran out of money, and the big problem was all their existing shoppers, all the older, usually older people, or people looking for good values and deals, stopped going. All right. So they position themselves into a new segment. Perhaps they could do okay with, but in the meantime, they lost all their existing customers. And so they fired the guy from Apple, hired the old CEO back, and they've gone back to, discounting and couponing like crazy, and it's really tough for them. And actually, their omni-channel isn't too bad, meaning you can buy it online, pick it up, and all that kind of stuff. But their stock is barely treading water, and they're probably not going to make it, along with Sears, right? And obviously Kmart, right? Would you buy clothes at J.C. Penney? Not many young people would shop there if they had a choice. So, especially for name brand stuff that you know what you're getting, you know, would you buy J.C. Penney brand, Arizona, or whatever the other brands are there? Probably not. So they're probably not going to make it. So many companies aren't able to reposition themselves. A few are lucky enough to reposition themselves and do well. And that's basically it for positioning. Um, and so, thank you. I know this is rather a long lesson, so to speak, but most of it's talking about the examples in there, and hopefully you get something out of it.